Okay, here we go. So this is a funky style blues in the key of C. There's nothing really outside of the box in this solo throughout parts 1, 2, and 3. We're really, in the C minor pentatonic scale, pretty familiar territory for most people. So I'll just go through the licks. I'll talk about any topics that just kind of cross my mind as I go through this that I think are worth talking about, that are interesting. This lesson, there's a couple interesting things that I think to talk about. This first lick, and I'll play through it one time. I think there's something worth talking about here. So down low on the neck here, so we're C minor pentatonic. This shape down here that goes with this chord. If we're thinking in terms of caged, and how our scales fit over our chords. It goes like this. So you can play that in a couple different ways. I think I bend it up in the solo, but you can bend it up or you can just do it straight. So that's it, a pretty basic lick, but I think a nice feel to it. So I think a thing worth talking about is just basically phrasing here, where to play your notes within the bar and not playing too many notes. So when I first started doing this and I would play things, I would listen to it afterwards and it just wouldn't sound good. So certainly something I would recommend, by the way, is recording yourself playing and listening to it, because what you're hearing when you're playing and listening to it afterwards are often two very different things. Sometimes you think you sound good while you're playing, and then you listen to it afterwards, and then you realize you don't sound good at all. So it's worth doing that. But so what I mean by phrasing and not playing too many notes here, when I would listen to myself play, I would often listen to it and it would just be way too many notes, and it just wouldn't sound good. It wouldn't feel good. It wouldn't flow. And I think the remedy to that is slowing down in almost like poetry, that type of thinking, maybe the same amount of syllables per line, right? The same amount of syllables per line. You start your phrasing at a specific beat within the measure. Those two concepts help a lot and help you improvise with licks that kind of make sense. Instead of just kind of going and having the scale dictate what you're playing and just playing notes really fast where your fingers feel good, kind of your physical capability driving what the licks sound like. This type of thinking lends itself to listening to the music and letting that drive what you're playing. So oftentimes I kind of think like that. Like I'll do a phrase starting at one point in the beat, one point in a measure. So like, and then at the same beat in the next measure, I'll do the same phrasing. It may be different notes, but it will be the same type of phrasing. It'll be like, something like that. The first two parts I played there, the 3-note little licks there, they were the same exact rhythm, right? And that makes it flow together much better. So that just playing through with that kind of in your head and playing really slowly and thinking about where the notes are landing and how many notes you're playing, what the rhythm are of those notes, helps you put together a little improvised solo that just flows together much better. So that was a really big lesson for me. So simple lick here, but I hope that explanation helps you in your own own playing, because I think that's kind of what's going on here. You know, it's little simple lick, but I think it flows together well. And when I play things like that, that's kind of what's going through my head. You know, I'm thinking in that, with that poetic type of mindset. And that's it. So simple lick, C minor pentatonic, but hopefully that's a concept that resonates with you. Okay, here is another lick, some faster pentatonic stuff in the C minor pentatonic scale up here. So. That one right there. I do this type of stuff a lot, just kind of the stock, running through the pentatonic scale. Kind of that basic, not basic, but I guess typical standard pentatonic stuff. So a triplet style lick like this. That's the first part of the lick. If you're not comfortable playing stuff like that, I would start small. I would start off with really little licks, really small licks, like. Get comfortable with that, and the bigger licks will come much more effortlessly if you can play those small parts really fluidly. So. Really easy licks to squeeze into a solo. They're just that simple triplet rhythm. And that's, I think, why I tend to play these quite a bit, just because they're easy to throw in, and they tend to sound pretty good. So that's it. That's the concept. To get good at some of this, so this will be my theme, I guess, for lick 2, is how to get good at playing through the pentatonic scale like that. I would play through the entire scale in triplets, in a sequence, and just go down the scale at a pretty slow pace, and just get used to this. So I would do something like this. So really even. Just get comfortable moving through the scale really fluidly. Take it really slow. Don't try to play it too fast. Just make it as even as you can. And watch your picks too. The picks are often an overlooked thing. Having the picks so that all the notes, the volume of each note is consistent. Because I'm not picking every one of those, I'm pulling off, right? Having the same volume between your pull-offs and the pick notes is a very important thing. It doesn't sound good if you have your pull-offs weak and your picks strong. You know, that sounds not good. I'll try to imitate that. So it just doesn't sound good. It sounds uneven. It sounds not good. You want smooth. So yeah, that type of playing allows you to do stuff like that a whole lot easier. So in any case, long-winded explanation of that first part of the lick. So. that right there. Second part of the lick is this. There it is. A lot of little different variations you can take on that. You know, when you play through these things, it's not necessarily a absolute perfect note for note thing. It's the vibe in the kind of basic timing of the lick. So if I were to play this again, I wouldn't play it the same way twice. You know, it's just kind of. I get comfortable in that little area and just kind of riffing and making slight variations on that idea, you know? So you just want to get comfortable with a really basic version of a lick. Something like that. And once you get that down, then it's really easy to make a slight tweak to it. Right, so yeah, so don't worry about too much getting every single note exactly the way it's tabbed out or anything like that. Play something similar, play something that feels good and sounds good to you, and then once you get that down, play that a bunch of times until you get it really smooth, and then you'll be able to just make small variations of that, and that's kind of how you can walk into a 12-bar blues like this with only like 2 or 3 licks, 2 or 3 kind of foundation licks, and then improvise the whole thing. And it sounds unique all the way through, but really you're playing only 3 licks. You're just making slight variations to those licks. Maybe slight variations in the same place, or playing that lick up an octave or something like this. So, right? So, you can take a small idea and make it go a long, 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 long way. I think it's much better to have, you know, 4 or 5 licks that you play flawlessly, that you know work really well and sound really good, and can make modifications to those, as opposed to having 1,000 licks that you play okay. You know, listen to a lot of guitarists like, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan, I think, is a really good example where. You know, obviously, absolutely fantastic player. Most of the licks he's playing are variations of like a few different licks. You know, he has some unique licks here and there, but oftentimes in his, you know, his main solos, his main songs, it's like he has a lot of the same licks, like the stuff like that. He has these stock licks, and he just tweaks them and mashes them together and plays them slightly different and different feels and different timing and whatever. But, you know, he has a few licks that he plays awesome that he's able to tweak a little bit. I think that's a good approach, as opposed to having 1,000 licks that all sound mediocre. So I guess that's my other takeaway from part lick 2 in this lesson. So that's it. I'll play through this one more time. Okay, so this one, we got a couple slides here, and we got using parts of the scale that I like a lot. So again, C minor pentatonic, but we're kind of getting up into this territory. And I like this part of the scale up here. It's just a nice little arpeggio. You have a lot of key notes in here, right? You got the 5th of C, you got the C itself, you got the minor 3rd of C. in the fifth of C. You get the whole, you know, minor arpeggio there. You could even throw in the flat 7. So in any case, I like that this part of the pentatonic scale. There's just a lot of sweet notes in this little shape. Really convenient. So back to the lick. It goes something like this. Something like that. So that last part of the lick is where I'm utilizing that little shape. That sounds great over C. Because we're landing on the C, we're really emphasizing that note. So that's it. There's not much else here that I think is worth talking about. I like those slides. Those are cool. Little slides up and slides down. Add a nice texture, I think, to playing to kind of mix it up. If you're stuck in the, you know, and you're just kind of stuck in that kind of pentatonic stock territory, I feel like slides really spice that up. It's a little nice little tool. Great way to obviously get up and down the necks. The slides are a great way to do that, right? So one thing I really, so here's a cool takeaway for this lick here is, I think it's important to learn scales and intervals across a single string as opposed to just in the scale. So like, if you're playing that all day, you kind of get stuck in this box, and then you think of this as another box, and this is another box. I like to think of things in terms of being on a single string. There's just so much cool stuff you can do there. So for example, on the C right there, anytime I'm playing a note, I know the minor third is 3 frets up, right? It's a minor third. Just knowing that one interval on a single string that's always there, that gives you a lot of flexibility. You know, you know that anytime you're playing on the root note, you know you got a good note in the minor third right there, right up 3 frets. Right? How cool is that? Anytime you're playing a root note, 3 frets up is a cool note to play. And that type of thinking allows you to be able to, it helps you tie the fretboard together this way instead of just in the box. You know, once you start to think of it in terms of, here's my root note, and I know that my root note, my minor third is here, my 5th is always up here, my 7th is always a half, is 1 step down, 2 frets down from the root note. You don't even need to know scales there. You know, all you need to know really is your root note, my C, and I know I got a lot of cool notes right here. I know I got my flat 7, I know I got my minor third. I know I got my fifth if I bend up this one. Once you start thinking like that, I think that opens up, it helps you visualize the entire thing much better. It helps you come up with licks that are not tied to this one little area. Instead of just, you got, got a little out of key there. I think I was playing in B there. Whatever. Point is, knowing the scale on a single string and knowing intervals on a string, where your flat 7 is, where your minor third, where your fifth is, helps you visualize, helps you write better licks. So anyway, I hope that was a beneficial little lesson. I'll play through this lick one more time.